Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Thursday Deep Dive webinar. My name is Savannah. I am part of the customer success team here at Sendible, and this is Veronica. She is part of our marketing team as our inbound marketing manager, and she is joining us for today. We are going to be talking about setting and measuring social media goals. So obviously, this is something that we are all passionate about because you're putting in all this effort. We want to actually be able to measure that success. So if you've been to one of these before, you know that there's just a few housekeeping tips. First, we have the questions tab. That's just to the right of the chat. You see a few people saying hi. You can ask any questions that you have throughout the presentation in the questions tab. Next, we also have some polls that we're going to add. So if you could just give us your feedback there, that would be hugely helpful. And you'll also note that on Thursdays, we always do an icebreaker. So I am going to ask, what is your go-to snack food? Mine are Cheez-Its or Goldfish, but mandatory, I need some cheesy crackers. So those are my favorite snacks. What is something you guys are going to have to be an absolute must that I'm going to have to try at some point? Ooh, chips and dip.
Nice.
Oh, Nico, so fancy. Chocolate pretzels. Ooh, Rick, all the ice cream. Yes, that is awesome. Okay, so if you are ready, Veronica, I'm going to pass the baton over to you. And then again, guys, any questions that you guys have, feel free to ask them in that questions tab. I'll be reading them to Veronica at the end of our call. Awesome.
Cool. Thanks so much for that introduction. By the way, my favorite snack at the moment is cucumber with a bit of salt. Very countryside of me, but it's gorgeous. All right, let me just start sharing my screen. I will need a quick confirmation. You can see everything. So can you see that full screen, Savannah?
You are good.
Sweet stuff. All right. Well, we have lots of things to go through, so let's start quickly. So today I'll be walking you through setting and measuring social media goals. And I am Veronica. Savannah already introduced me. I've been in marketing for over 9 years now and done a lot of social media and other marketing channels as well, which came with a lot of goal setting. So I hope today I'll share some of the things that I have learned and what we have learned at Sendible by working with a lot of agencies and brands about measuring KPIs, setting them, etc. So what we'll be covering, we'll touch on setting KPIs based on different goals that you have for social media. We'll do a quick intro to Google Analytics. We'll also talk about measuring success in social media marketing in general and how to adapt your social strategy based on results. There's going to be a Q&A, so please feel free to add any questions. If we don't get through them today, we will do that later. And all right, let's get started. So one of the first things we're touching on today is KPIs. And before you set any KPIs or goals, I just really want you to think about what is the broader objective you'd like social media help you.
Veronica, it looks like we have you muted. Like, real quick, we'll get that. Perfect.
Oh, no. Was I really muted? Oh, God damn.
No, it's just on this slide. You're good.
Oh, just on this slide. Oh, okay. Goodness. All right. Sorry for that there for a sec. So yeah, just think about the broader objective you'd like social media to help you achieve. This is especially true for social because there's so many ways how to get distracted and there's so many different features and posts to try. So it's really important that you're always focused on that one thing that you want to help us achieve. And before we go on, I just wanted to run a quick poll to better learn who you are in the audience so I can adjust some of the examples I mentioned to you. If you don't mind, could you answer the poll and let us know if you're working in-house for a marketing agency, whether you're an agency owner or freelancer, or actually if you're just a solopreneur, business owner, soldiering through all that. This will just take a quick second. If you use the polls tab, that would be super useful, but I can see some of you coming in from the chat. Agency owner, agency, right. Great. Okay, well, thank you so much. So when it comes to setting goals for social media, we've learned that these are the three core ones that you could have, and this applies for setting them for clients or for your own in-house brand. So one of them is, of course, increasing brand awareness. This is a goal that can be set up for any brand out there. You're usually measured on the number of followers, reach, and engagement. Now, the second most popular is lead generation. So here you would be measured on the traffic that social media helps you generate, or maybe the direct messages that you receive that are sales inquiries. And then the third one would be selling a product or service, which is usually more tied to paid advertising, but with Instagram having its own shop and some other shopping options available on social media, can also be a goal, especially for e-commerce brands. That said, though, having an active presence is a completely fine goal as well. And this applies for all the small businesses just starting out, all the local businesses that you might be working with. Usually, like that is the best thing to have, just an active presence, because if you think about it from the perspective of potential customers, when they do check out a brand, let's say a local dentist or, I don't know, a new clothes shop in the area, all you really want to know is that they're active, they're sort of they have a mission of some sort, or you like the products that they do, and you just want to really see that they are there. So here you would be measuring very similarly to brand awareness, but you would really need to put in the focus on community building. All right. So there are two methods to how I have set KPIs in the past and how the marketing teams where I work at have done this. Method number one is to set KPIs on a monthly or quarterly basis. So you could decide where you want to be for a year from now and then work backwards of whether you want to have monthly or quarterly goals. I have some examples here of how that could look like for different of the different goals that we discussed earlier. So for awareness, for example, and this is something that we use at Sendible actually, because brand awareness is the goal for social media for us. So it would be to receive a number of engagements per month, and that would be comments, shares, and it's all about really getting your brand out there. In terms of lead gen, here you have a lot of variety. It could be based on inquiries. It could be based on traffic. So you could say, we want to attract 1,000 new users to the website in Q4. And that's a flat goal that we have every quarter. In sales, again, selling items is obviously the end goal, but even visits to conversion pages could work really well. And then the second method would be to set SMART goals for projects. So we all have heard of the SMART goal setting system. It's not one of my favorites, I'll be completely honest, but it works really well for project-based work. And what I mean by that is that it's probably not something you would do month by month, but it's something that you would do when you want to make a bigger push for something. So let's say with an awareness goal, you could increase your what you could say is we want to increase our average engagement rate by 15% by using UGC content, which stands for user generated content, throughout the holiday season. So it's very specific. We know exactly what we're doing. We know exactly how to measure results. Similarly, you could say we want to increase our total reach by posting more or less or spending time on social listening. So again, very measurable, very time bound, and really, really good for specific projects. That said, not all businesses are created equal. And I just really want to stress this, especially to the agencies in the room. It's very exciting when you're a trendy donut cafe and probably you have a great time creating all the different types of content. But when you're working with a local dentist office, it's not like the dentist's customers are going to be posting a bunch of UGC content that you can share. So there's definitely this the one thing that you need to understand is that not all businesses are created equal, and some are almost seemingly created for social media, whereas others are not. And especially when it comes to visual storytelling, where you have to post a lot of beautiful photos, and if you're trying to make a dent on a platform like Instagram, having beautiful visual content is going to be very important. But you're not going to be able to do that if you're working with a brand that just doesn't have any. Hence why, probably creating a big following on Instagram is not going to be one of your goals or something you should pursue. And in general, you should always just be very wary of what the brand is, what the goals are, what is the broader objective, and link that up with your social media presence and goal setting for it. Have a couple of quick ideas for different industries here. Just as I mentioned before, all types of businesses can have brand awareness as a goal, and for some of them, it's the only it's the only choice, actually. And it's okay. It's completely fine. Building that trust and telling the story of the brand in a consistent and engaging way is sometimes worth a lot to new customers and to brands. And something that we know that gets missed by service-based businesses, so anyone where you can book an appointment, something that you can actually use a conversion point or a point of measure is how many people book an appointment or visit the appointment page. And again, of course, for retail and e-commerce, any use of special codes and things like that can also be tied into your goals and measured on. There is something that I want you to always remember when setting KPIs. And actually, well, two things. And one of them is that you should always pursue only one goal at a time for your social media goals. Now, the channels, sorry. Of course, if you have a huge marketing team behind you and a lot of budget, please disregard this advice and go ahead. But if you're working within the realistic means, and we all know we're all overwhelmed a little bit, try and pursue one goal at a time and do a really, really good job at it. And then another thing I want you to think about is to be realistic when setting your growth goals. Now, the examples that I did before, and I said, oh, increase engagement rate by 15% in a quarter, that's actually a huge goal. If you would need to really look at your past successes, let's say you look at your past results and you see, oh, we've been driving an average of 200 visitors to the website from organic social. It would be incredibly risky to say you want to double that and you want to go for 400 or 1,000 if you haven't seen that kind of growth before. So generally just be really wary and just look at your past growth patterns before setting a goal. It's very important. Now, very, very quick intro to Google Analytics. So to those of you probably aware of Google Analytics, it's now a very popular tool to use. But it can give you, but some of that you might be overwhelmed. Either way, don't worry, we're all overwhelmed by Google Analytics at one point or another. And it's a great way how you can measure efforts on social media and how they fit into the broader digital marketing strategy. And this is really important if you're, for example, a full service social media, if you're a full service marketing agency or you're offering different services to your clients, because if social media is not driving the most of the success for them, whereas let's say SEO or organic does, and that's where you can help, you can decide of how to build your packages to bring the most value to the clients. I'm going to touch on some of the paths in Google Analytics, the actual current one, but I'll also touch on GA4, which is the new one, in a sec. So just wanted to share 3 different paths with you that you can go to Google Analytics right now if you have that set up and get some useful insights. So one of them is the acquisition, all traffic channels path. So you can see all of the different channels here, organic, referral, email, etc. And you can see how social compares to other channels. And I really love this view because it tells me in percentages how impactful social media is. For some brands, social media is only, 3 to 5% of the total traffic. For some, it could be 20, 30%, especially starting ones. So it really depends on where the business is at and what is actually driving new visitors to the site. And then you can decide of how much time you want to spend on it, of course. The good news is that this report is actually available in a very beautiful pie chart in Sendible, so you don't have to look too far to get access to that information. There is a deeper view to this in Google Analytics where you can see specifically all of the social media channels here. And that is incredibly powerful because let's say you're posting at the same frequency on all the channels at once. So let's say 2 posts a week on all the channels. You go to this report and then you can see how much traffic, and this is of course if traffic is your goal, you can see how much traffic you're actually generating through these channels. And if you're seeing that 1 or 2 channels are much stronger than the others, you can actually build a case to say, okay, well, what happens if we double our posting here, but we keep the rest of the posting the same? So again, you can make smarter decisions about where to post and how often, and you can just see the correlation there. Something to note is that your paid and organic results are going to mix here, so you want to make sure that you keep an eye on that. Another favorite view of mine is behavior, site content, and landing pages. So you can see individual landing pages here. You can see how much traffic you're driving from the different channels, including social. And this, again, is powerful if you're judged on how many visitors you drive to, let's say, the homepage or the appointment booking page or a specific product range. So super, super useful. One other note about UTMs. So UTMs are little bits of code that you add to your URLs when you do link share posts. They can be incredibly powerful, and they can help you really understand which posts are the most successful, for example, and which channels are the most successful, because not always all the tracking comes through. Please do use it if you can. If you're on a higher plan at Sendible, you can build them right there. If not, there's plenty of free URL builders, and I'm sure maybe Savannah will share a link to the deep dive on all about custom tags and UTM options in Sendible later on. Now, just very quickly before we wrap up for Google Analytics. So GA4 is actually a brand new interface for Google Analytics. I'm still yet to give this a proper spin, but the biggest difference between them is that it's an event-based model to track data instead of it being just different interactions. So a lot of what we're used to looking at is actually not there, because it all needs to be set up before it's actually made useful. There's a bunch of good guides on this. If you're working with clients who are already using this, then definitely need to look into it and set it all up. But do remember that that takes time, and whether that's actually an additional price on a package, that's something for you to decide. So very, very, very important thing to remember about measuring things in social media is that there's a lot of places to look for, and you can really get distracted. And I have done that all the time. So really, there's lots of things, or lots of places where you can look at data once you do set up those goals and KPIs. So there's native social platforms, there's Google Analytics, we just touched on. Your CRM tool, very powerful. If you have access to that as an agency, that can be super useful, because you can see where the best customers are coming from. Are they coming from social? Which channel? Of course, Sendible is there for you as well. We do help you better measure your social media efforts, and of course your gut feeling. And I do have to stress this: your gut feeling might be the one that helps you the most times. Something to always remember, in addition to all the other things, is that looking at data individually is not going to build a bigger picture. And so you always have to come back to that one social media goal that you have, that one thing you measured, that one broader objective, to be really clear on what you're looking for first. Can't stress this enough. There's just so much data there. You could be reporting on hundreds of metrics, to be honest, in social media, but it's not necessary if you're very clear on the goal that you want to achieve. Want to very quickly touch on some of the places where you can look for data. So of course, in Sendible, you have the quick reports. You can really look at all the different useful information there. Do use the report cheat sheets, and my favorite is to use the best time to post graph, because it tells me when the post could potentially have the most engagement. And by the way, the quick reports are available in all plans. Now, if you do have the custom reports on your plan, you can build your custom reports and tailor them exactly to what you need. You can send them on a weekly, monthly basis if you need to involve stakeholders, and you can even share live links. So that's really useful to just displaying data in a professional way. Also thought there's a point to mention some of the metrics on native platforms, because as you may know, due to APIs, not all of the functionality is available on tools like Sendible. So it's also sometimes useful, and I check native platforms a lot, to look at some of the metrics there. Facebook is going to give you good organic versus paid result breakdowns. My favorite place to look for interesting competitor information is actually pages to watch. You can see the different posting behaviors for the competitors that you may have. Instagram is very clunky because you can only access it on your phone at the moment, but it can really help you see different metrics based on your goal. And I think this is what's really will help. Having that one goal will really help you understand Instagram insights a lot more, because you can toggle between different metrics on the individual posts and stories and the site. So for example, if your goal is to achieve as much followers as possible, then you want to look at the posts that driven the most followers, right? If you, let's say, want to drive people to, I don't know, if you're focused on impressions, then you can look at that. Very, very, very useful to look at that. Twitter is great for their monthly summaries. They're very quick and easy on the eye. And you can also see engagement rates percentages for every post, which is super useful. LinkedIn, very similar engagement rate percentage, click-through rates. Again, just seeing, because remember, just engagement rate percentages are a better way how to track engagement, because not all of the posts are created equal when they do land on people's news feeds. So very good to keep an eye on that number. And Pinterest is just super useful for e-commerce brands. So if you're working with brands that have an online shop, this can be very, very interesting to look at. All right, so just very quickly, and I know we're already on 20 minutes, so I'll just speed through this sort of final section very quickly on how to adapt your strategy. So if the numbers are going up, keep doing what you're doing. Don't touch anything. Just really smile, tell yourself that you've done a great job, and just keep doing what you're doing. If the numbers are going down, it's okay. This happens. Engagement rates, especially for organic posts, are incredibly low all the time. So don't worry, but you will need to amend your strategy and try something new. So I have compiled 3 of the sort of issues or goals that might go down with some potential solutions here. So if you're receiving lower engagement on your post than usual, you just need to be really realistic. Something that I mentioned before, in most cases, 1 to 2% engagement rate on posts is a good score. So for every 100 people that follow you or see your post, actually 1 or 2 people liking it can be a success. So if you're at 5%, you're doing a fantastic job. And this is just a reality of organic social media posting, but you just have to keep going. You do want to experiment with different content types, and something that really helps is to ramp up your monitoring and really engage with your audience. If you're losing followers, just make sure that you are sticking to your content themes, you're providing enough value. Remember, you should sort of always be, whenever you post, it should provide value to people who are looking at your content. So remember that. And consistency is actually super important too. If you tend to overschedule a lot of posts and then it's all silence, it can make people not follow you or unfollow you. And then finally, if you're experiencing a drop in traffic from social media, just make sure that your CTAs are right, that you review your posts, and that you really make sure that you use of all of the options that different platforms give you, like Instagram. You can set up your shop, you can really link it to your products, and that can be incredibly powerful if you sell really nice, lovely tea, like you can see on the right-hand side there. And of course, if you run ads, that can, if you have cut your ad spending and you see a drop in traffic, that could also be related. All right. And then final point, I just want to really stress again, don't get lost in the vast galaxy of data available to you. And always refer back to your core social media goal and how it affects the business. Always go through that. And if someone ever tells you, if your goal is to drive traffic and someone tells you that there's not enough shares on a presentation, on your post, just tell them that's not part of our strategy. That's not our main focus. It's okay. All right. Whew, gosh. Thanks for listening. Sorry that we only have 6 minutes for questions.
Oh, no, that was amazing.
Any questions?
Thank you so much. It looks like we actually do have a question. We have one from Erica saying, is there a way to track goals and measure data of an entire campaign, mostly from Facebook? That's where her focus is.
That's a great question. I guess she's asking about Sendible specifically, I would assume.
Essentially.
Yeah. So I'll give you an answer. If it's just Facebook and you're just looking at Facebook, Facebook Insights are going to give you quite a bit of information just looking at stuff there. You could pull data from Google Analytics to look at the traffic it has generated or anything else that you're tracking. In terms of Sendible, our support team will probably be the best, but I know if you set up a queue, only post to Facebook, they can give you additional analytics. But in general, like if you're looking for a success in a single social media channel, it's very likely you'll have to look at different data to bring a picture together.
Absolutely. I also had a comment from Carrie that I wanted to bring up. Carrie mentioned that it's often hard to manage client expectations with goal setting. Do you have any recommendations for that?
Yeah, I think you Carrie, and I think every agency owner answer that. I think there's a couple of points that I think can help. So one is to set realistic expectations, share with them. Some clients might not even be aware of these average marks for social media posts, for organic posts. And when they actually find out, they're shocked in some ways. And then above average, they can the value even more. So just be educational and telling them, look, this is you will be getting if we're doing your job. It can be very, very powerful. And then getting them back to the goal. So again, engagement might not be so favorite examples about engagement. Let's say you're tracking engagement rates like that. That's important, but if you generate inquiries, people keep their feeds all the time, but that doesn't mean that they don't notice the brand. So if the brand is still getting enough traffic or inquiries and things are the right end, just because one or two posts have lower engagement, that doesn't necessarily mean bad. So I would say educate the client, set realistic expectations, and just take them through the process. We mentioned like best month, worst post of the month. Just be and have.
Awesome. There was one more question from Tori saying, are there any plans to enhance Sendible reporting section to give more detailed data? Tori, we really appreciate your question. If we are making any changes to our reporting section, you will know about it. So I don't have any plans to share with you, but I can tell you that if there is ever an update that's going to be made, we will definitely make you aware before it goes live. Awesome. Are there any other questions for Veronica and I before we jump off? Setting and measuring goals, guys. This is a huge topic. Awesome.
I feel like a lot of information has been just given to people, so feeling a little bit overwhelmed. That's okay. There was a question or two from our community that I sent you on Slack. Since we have a couple of minutes, maybe we should.
That sounds great. Let's do that. Let me pull that up. All right. So we have, let's see. So the questions from our community on Facebook are, should we measure organic and paid social separately? Is there value there?
Good question. Absolutely, yes. 100% you should measure it separately, but you shouldn't look at it separately, if that makes sense. If you have the budget to do paid advertising, then please do go ahead and do it, as long as that goes with the goals. But you do want to measure the effectiveness for the separate techniques, just to see which one is doing better and worse.
Awesome. Another question is, should I use an external party to conduct an initial social media audit?
That's a really good question. I mean, it's good when an audit is say an agency freelancer who's working for that potential business. It's actually, for some, it's part of their proposed template. I would say because some things that you might and you're that might not be true when you look at the data. So it's good to have another pair of eyes for sure if you have the budget.
Awesome. And then finally, what do you think are the most important metrics to track to increase online sales?
Oof. Most important metrics to online sales. I mean, that's a very big one, because assuming that all the sales happen on a website, and if you're a social media marketer or an agency responsible for social media, you don't necessarily have control over how well the checkout process works, or, shipping information, like all those things that go into actually making a sale. So I would say looking at visitors to key product pages, promotions, campaigns, like just the visits to, and also how many people land on the checkout page from the social media channels, for example. Because if you don't control the checkout process, you can't beat sales. There's a whole different conversion optimization thing going there. So website visits, traffic, and then if you have an Instagram shop or a Facebook shop set up, then that makes things a little bit more easier, and you can look at sales there.
Awesome. That was hugely helpful. You guys, it was great to have you on. Thank you so much for your time, Veronica. This has been wonderful. And we will send you guys all the recording after the fact, and you can look forward to more next week. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.